Here, everyone. Let's dive into a topic today that most of us shy away from, but it's the one that impacts every single one of us: death. Now, before you click away, hear me out. Death is the one certainty in life, yet it's something we rarely talk about. It's a subject that can make our hearts race and our palms sweat. But what if confronting this fear actually led us to live more fully? What if understanding our morality could unlock a deeper appreciation for life's moments? Today, I'm going to show you how facing this inevitable truth head on can empower you to live a richer and more meaningful life. So if you're ready to turn your fear into strength and clarity, stick around. I promise you won't regret it. Let's embrace life by understanding death together. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Death is a complex and often difficult subject. But what if I told you there are powerful reasons why you shouldn't fear death? You see, after years of working as a hospice nurse, I've witnessed firsthand the transition from life to death. And through those experiences, I've come to understand that death isn't something to be afraid of. In fact, it's just as natural as being born. It's all part of the circle of life. And that's what I want to share with you today. The reasons why death, while part of life, shouldn't be a source of fear. I'm going to break down these reasons in a way that speaks to everyone, whether you're a science buff, a spiritual soul, or a little bit of both. We're going to explore the biology of death, this spiritual phenomena that often surround it, and my personal stories that have shaped my own understanding of this universal experience. This isn't about telling you what to believe. It's about offering a different perspective, one that I hope will bring you comfort and peace of mind. If you're ready to embark on this journey with me, let's get started. Now let's dive right into the first reason why death isn't something to fear. It's a natural part of life, just like the setting of the sun or the changing seasons. And this one's for all the analytical thinkers out there. We often seek logical explanations and scientific reasoning to understand the world around us. We're going to talk about the incredible ways our bodies are designed to handle the end of life. It's fascinating how our biological systems are programmed to ease us through this transition. You see, when we think about our bodies, we usually focus on the amazing things that they do to keep us alive. Our hearts beating, our lungs breathing, our cells regenerating, or our immune systems fighting off infections. Every day our bodies are engaged in a constant battle to maintain our health and well-being. It's a symphony of life happening inside us every single day. Each organ, each cell plays its part in this grand performance. But what most folks don't realize is that our bodies are just as equipped to help us die as they are to help us live. It's a process that's just as natural and just as important. It's like we've got this built-in system that kicks in when the time is right, ensuring that our final moments are as peaceful as possible, guiding us gently towards the end. This system is a testament to the body's wisdom and final act of grace that allows this transition with dignity and peace. So the next time that you think about the end of life, remember that it's not something to fear. It's a continuation of the journey, a final chapter that's written with care and compassion by the body itself. Embrace the body's wisdom and find comfort in knowing that it's designed to take care of us, even in our final moment. One of the first things I've noticed as a hospice nurse is how the body starts preparing itself for the end. Take calcium, for example. Now, we all know calcium is important for strong bones, but did you know it also plays a role in how we experience death? As we get closer to the end of life, our calcium levels naturally rise. This might sound a little strange, but it's actually kind of a beautiful thing. You see, elevated calcium levels lead us to something we all crave, especially at the end: sleep. And not any sleep, restful sleep. It's like your body's saying, it's all right, rest your weary bones, let go of all those worries, and just drift away. Now, alongside this increase in sleep, you might notice something else happening as the body prepares itself for its final journey. The desire for food and drink, something we usually take for granted, starts to fade away. This can be tough for loved ones to witness. They want to nourish their family, to give them something to keep their strength up. But what they don't realize is that this loss of appetite is the natural part of the process. As the body conserves energy and prepares for the end, it simply doesn't need as much fuel. This gradual process of eating and drinking less isn't something to fear. It's the body's way of finding peace and comfort in its final days. And here's where things get really interesting. As the body starts to wind down, something remarkable happens. It enters a state called ketosis. Now, you might have heard of ketosis in relation to diet and weight loss, but it also plays a critical role in how we experience death. You see, when the body goes into ketosis, it starts producing an amazing chemical called endorphins. Endorphins are like natural painkillers, but they do more than just mask pain. They bring on a sense of calm and well-being, feeling of peace that washes over the entire body. Now, isn't that something? Even in those final moments, our bodies are working hard to make sure that we're as comfortable and peaceful as we can be. Now, you might be wondering how all these changes, the sleep, the lack of appetite, the endorphins, how do they all come together at the end? The best way I can explain it, it's like a beautifully orchestrated symphony with each instrument playing its part just at the right time. As the body slows down, it starts letting go of things it no longer needs. Organs that once worked tirelessly begin to rest. The digestive system, which once roared with activity after a hearty meal, grows quiet. Even the lungs, those tireless bellows of life, start to take a break. It's a gradual process, this slowing down, this letting go. And while it might seem like a decline from the outside, from the inside, it feels like a gentle surrender, a peaceful acceptance of what's to come. Now, let's talk about breathing for a moment. Breathing is something we do without even thinking about it. It's as natural as the sun rising and setting. But as the body prepares its final journey, you might notice a change in a loved one's breathing. It might become shallower, slower. There might be pauses between breaths, sometimes long pauses. And while this can be difficult for loved ones to witness, it's important to remember that this change in breathing is a natural part of the process. It's the body's way of conserving energy and letting go of the physical world and preparing for something else. It's a peaceful transition, not a struggle. I remember one patient, well, let's call him John. He was a strong and stubborn man who lived a full life. John was a jack of all trades, mainly a carpenter. He built houses with his own two hands. And then he was diagnosed with cancer. But let me tell you, he fought that thing tooth and nail, just like he fought everything in his life. But as his condition progressed, I started to see those natural processes that I was telling you about kicking in. John's breathing slowed, his appetite waned, and he started spending more and more time sleeping. His family was devastated. They were heartbroken. They didn't understand why their strong, vibrant John was fading away. I tried to explain to them that this was John's body's way of saying, it's all right, let me go, let me rest. And you know what? As John's body surrendered to those natural processes, a sense of peace settled over him with very little intervention from me or my team. It was pretty neat to, witness. He wasn't afraid anymore. He'd let go of the need to control, to fight against the inevitable. And that's what I want you to understand. Death isn't something to fear. It's a natural part of life, just like birth, just like breathing, just like the changing of the seasons. And our bodies, those incredible vessels that carry us through life, they're also designed to help us through this transition too. Now, we've talked a lot about the physical side of death, the way our bodies are literally designed to ease us into the final transitions. And that is a comforting thought for many folks, knowing that nature's got our backs even at the very end. But there's another side to death, something that science, they just can't quite explain. And that's what we're going to explore now. We're going to talk about a spiritual phenomenon that I have witnessed firsthand in my years as a hospice nurse. Now, I know this may sound a little out there for some of y'all, but bear with me, because these experiences, they've changed the way I view death, and they might just change yours too. Have you ever felt that presence in the room that give you goosebumps, like someone's watching over you even though you're home alone? Maybe it's a loved one who's passed on, or maybe it's just a feeling, a whisper in the wind. There's actually a medical term for that. And in hospice care, we call these experiences shared death experiences. It's when the living and the dying, they connect on a level that goes beyond words and beyond the physical realm. It's a glimpse into the mystery of what lies beyond, and it's more common than you might think. Now, I remember one patient in particular, Mary. She lived with her son, Dan. She was just a sweet old soul. They had no other family around. It was just the two of them. Mary was really struggling with her illness, and she was afraid of dying. She was full of regrets. One of her big regrets, she hadn't spoken to her daughter, Julie, who lived in California. They haven't spoken in 25 years. They had a falling out, as some families do, and neither one of them had been able to bridge the gap. I became very close to Mary and her son Dan, and she started talking about life after death. See, she had never believed there was an afterlife or a higher power of any kind. But as Mary's time grew closer, she began to wonder. She desperately yearned to reconcile, to hear her daughter's voice one last time. And she said that if there was an afterlife with a heaven and hell, that she was for sure going to hell. I asked her if she would like our chaplain to come by and talk with her. Mary was very open to the idea and asked if I could call him right then and there. So, of course I did. The chaplain was a good hour and a half away, but he said he was going to head over right now. Want to hear something cool? Mary and Dan prayed together, something that they had never done before. And you know what? Sometimes it seems like there is someone listening to our deepest desires, even when they seem impossible. The very next evening, out of the blue, Mary's phone rang. It was Julie. She had this sudden urge to reach out to her mother. She didn't even know Mary was on hospice. Mary told me they talked for hours. They shared their love and made peace with the past. The next day, Julie flew in from California to be with her mom. You know what happened? Mary passed away peacefully that very evening, and Julie and Dan were at the bedside holding her hands. Some folks might call that a coincidence, but I call that a shared death experience. It was like Mary's spirit, her soul, had been waiting for that reconciliation before it could finally let go. You know, I could end that story right there. It would be a beautiful, wonderful story. But here's where things got really interesting. The part of the story that still gives me chills when I think about it. That evening, after Mary passed away, I was driving home from a long, long day of seeing patients. I'll never forget it. It was like it was yesterday. It was in the summer. It was a warm summer night, actually, evening. Around 7, 8 o'clock, the sun was just starting to set. I was thinking about Mary and how peaceful she seemed that day. And as I was driving, I started getting this strange feeling, like someone was trying to tell me something. It wasn't a voice exactly, more like a presence. It was like a warmth that seemed to fill the entire car. And again, I know it sounds crazy, but I heard this voice in my head. Now, I know what you're thinking. This hospice nurse is just hearing voices. Had a long day and tired. But let me tell you, this was real as anything I've ever experienced. This voice that I heard was filled with so much joy. Again, like I said, I'll never forget it. It just kept repeating the same phrase over and over. They're so beautiful. This is so wonderful. If I only knew. I was trying to make sense of what I was experiencing. And then, as quickly as it had begun, it was over. I knew I wouldn't be able to explain this to anyone, not even my closest friends. They'd think I was losing it. And maybe I was. Shoot, I've heard the same thing from other hospice nurses, and I was like, okay. Deep down, I knew what I'd experienced was real, and it was a glimpse beyond the veil. I shook it off and continued driving towards home. It wasn't a couple minutes later when my phone rang, and it was Mary's son, Dan. His voice was thick with emotion, and every word, boy, there was so much sorrow. And he let me know his mom had just passed. But I already knew it. Normally when I go to bed and I fall right asleep. But that night, I was laying in bed and I was thinking about Mary. And I couldn't shake the feeling that it was really Mary's spirit that visited me on my drive home. The thought was both comforting and, to be honest, a little eerie. I felt a deep sense of connection, a bond that overwhelmed the physical world. Folks, we've come to the end of another journey together. A journey that led us through the intricate workings of our bodies and the profound mysteries of the human spirit. And I hope along the way you found some comfort and some peace of mind in the face of life's greatest mystery. You see, death isn't the boogeyman we often make it out to be. We've explored two powerful reasons why death isn't something to be feared. Now, I know not everyone will have these experiences, and that's okay. Your journey with death is your own. But whether you find comfort in the science, the spiritual, or a little bit of both, the message is the same. Death isn't something to fear. If this video has brought you some comfort, some peace of mind, then I encourage you to share it with others who might be grappling with the fear of death. Let's spread the message of hope and understanding. This awareness that death, while part of life, doesn't have to be something we dread. And if you like to explore more topics like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And remember that none of us are alone in this journey. From the moment we take our first breath till the moment we take our last. Until next time, folks, stay curious, stay compassionate. Remember, you are loved.